The discovery that changed everything. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before Dr. Sarah Chen as she stood at the observation deck of the Stellar Research Station Alpha. Her dark eyes reflected the countless stars that dotted the cosmic canvas, but her attention was fixed on something far more intriguing. The holographic display before her showed readings that defied everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. 3 months ago, her team had detected unusual energy signatures emanating from what appeared to be empty space. Initially dismissed as equipment malfunction, the signatures had grown stronger, more regular, and undeniably artificial. Today, those signatures had revealed something that would change the course of human history forever. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," called out Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, his voice trembling with excitement. He manipulated the holographic controls, zooming in on a particular section of space. The empty void suddenly shimmered, revealing massive structures that had been hidden behind some kind of advanced cloaking technology. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Before them floated an alien installation larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. Its architecture was both beautiful and terrifying: crystalline spires that seemed to catch and reflect starlight, massive rings that rotated with impossible precision, and energy conduits that pulsed with an otherworldly blue glow. "It's a gateway," Sarah whispered, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "They've been watching us all along." The discovery spread through the station like wildfire. Within hours, the United Earth Defense Council had been notified, and emergency protocols were activated. Humanity had always questioned if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, but it came with a chilling revelation: they weren't just being watched, they were being judged. Admiral James Harrison arrived at the station within days, his weathered face grave as he reviewed the data. The installation wasn't just a scientific marvel, it was a test. The energy signatures they detected were scanning waves, analyzing Earth's technological progress, societal development, and military capabilities. "How long have they been there?" Harrison demanded, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. Sarah pulled up the historical data. "Based on our analysis of the energy patterns, at least a century. They've been monitoring our development from the shadows, waiting to see if we'd notice them. And now that we have, now they're revealing themselves. Sir, the energy signatures have changed. They're no longer just scanning, they're transmitting. It's an invitation." Harrison's jaw tightened. Humanity stood at a crossroads. First contact was no longer a question of if, but when. The gateway installation had begun broadcasting coordinates, leading to what they could only assume was the heart of an advanced alien civilization. As Sarah studied the transmitted data, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The coordinates weren't just a destination, they were a challenge. The aliens weren't just inviting humanity to join them, they were testing to see if Earth was worthy of joining a greater galactic community. "There's more," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The transmission contains fragments of what appears to be their history. They've done this before, Admiral. Other civilizations have faced this test. Not all of them passed." Harrison stared at the holographic display, watching as the alien installation pulsed with increasing intensity. "And what happens to those who fail?" Sarah's silence was answer enough. The stakes couldn't be higher. Humanity's response to this discovery would determine not just their place among the stars, but their very survival. They had one chance to prove themselves worthy of existence in a universe far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. The clock was ticking, and the greatest test in human history had begun. Preparing for the unknown. The United Earth Defense Council chamber hummed with tension as representatives from every nation gathered for what would become the most crucial meeting in human history. The massive circular room, designed to accommodate hundreds of delegates, felt surprisingly small under the weight of the decision they faced. Admiral Harrison stood at the central podium, his holographic presentation showing the alien gateway in stunning detail. Dr. Sarah Chen sat among the scientific advisors, her tablet filled with data from their ongoing analysis of the alien transmission. "The choice before us is clear," Harrison began, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "We can accept their invitation and face whatever trials await us, or we can ignore it and risk being deemed unworthy without even trying." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "And what guarantee do we have that this isn't a trap? These beings have watched us for a century without revealing themselves. Why trust them now?" Sarah stood, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. "The data we've collected suggests they've done this with numerous civilizations. It's a pattern, a systematic approach to evaluating species ready for galactic integration. The gateway technology alone is centuries beyond our capabilities. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done so already." Murmurs rippled through the chamber as delegates processed this information. The Russian representative spoke next, her eyes sharp with calculation. "Dr. Chen, what exactly do your readings tell us about these tests?" Sarah brought up new holographic displays, showing complex energy patterns and mathematical sequences. "The transmission contains what we believe are test parameters. They're challenging our problem-solving abilities, our technological advancement, and most importantly, our species' character." "Our character?" The Brazilian delegate scoffed. "How do aliens judge human character?" "By how we respond to impossible situations," Harrison interjected. "They're not just testing our technology, they're testing our wisdom, our courage, and our unity as a species." The next few hours saw intense debate as humanity's representatives wrestled with the magnitude of their decision. Scientists presented data, military leaders assessed risks, and economists calculated potential impacts. But it was the Indian representative who finally cut through the chaos with a simple truth. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," she said, rising slowly. "Throughout our history, humanity has faced moments that defined us. The discovery of fire, the invention of the wheel, the first steps on the moon, each time, we chose to move forward despite our fears. This is such a moment." The chamber fell silent as her words sank in. Sarah watched as faces changed from fear to determination. The reality was setting in, humanity couldn't afford to show weakness or hesitation. The galaxy was watching. The vote, when it came, was nearly unanimous. Earth would accept the challenge. But with that decision came an unprecedented mobilization of human resources and talent. The next 48 hours saw the formation of the Stellar Trial Initiative, STI, a global task force combining the brightest minds and most capable individuals from every nation. Sarah found herself appointed as Chief Scientific Officer, working directly with Admiral Harrison to prepare humanity's response. As they left the council chamber, Harrison pulled her aside. "Dr. Chen, there's something else you need to see," he said, leading her to a secure room. Inside, new data streams showed even more complex patterns emerging from the gateway. "The test isn't just beginning, it's evolving. They're watching how we prepare." Sarah studied the new data, her eyes widening as she realized the implications. "They're not just testing our capabilities," she whispered. "They're testing our potential. Every decision we make, every step we take in preparation, it's all part of the evaluation." Harrison nodded grimly. "Which means we can't afford a single misstep. The fate of our species hangs on what we do next." As they stood there, watching the alien data streams pulse with otherworldly precision, both knew that humanity was about to embark on its greatest journey. The question wasn't just whether they would pass the test, it was whether they would emerge from it changed for the better. The first trial. The expedition vessel, humanity's hope, hung in space before the massive alien gateway, its sleek design representing the pinnacle of human engineering. Inside, Sarah Chen stared at the pulsing energy field that had formed within the gateway's massive rings, her heart pounding with equal parts excitement and apprehension. "Final systems check complete," announced Captain Maya Patel from the bridge, her voice calm despite the historic moment. All departments report ready. The ship represented humanity's best chance at success. Built in record time using technology reverse-engineered from studying the Gateway's emissions, it carried a crew of 300 scientists, engineers, military personnel, and diplomats from every corner of Earth. Sarah stood at her station in the science bay, surrounded by instruments designed to analyze whatever lay beyond the Gateway. Admiral Harrison, now mission commander, spoke from his command post. "Remember everyone, we're not just explorers today, we're humanity's representatives. Whatever we find on the other side, we face it together." The Gateway's energy field suddenly shifted, patterns of light dancing across its surface in mesmerizing sequences. Sarah's instruments exploded with data as the first test began, not with violence or grandeur, but with mathematics. "They're sending us a problem," Sarah announced, her fingers flying over her console. Complex equations filled the main screen, unlike anything taught in human universities. "It's some kind of multidimensional physics puzzle." The crew watched as symbols and formulas cascaded across their displays. This wasn't just advanced mathematics, it was a test of human cognitive ability, their capacity to understand concepts beyond their current scientific framework. "They want to see if we can learn," Sarah realized, her mind racing as she began to recognize patterns in the seemingly impossible equations. This isn't just about solving the problem, it's about understanding how they think. Teams of scientists worked feverishly, combining human intuition with quantum computers. Hours stretched into days as they grappled with alien concepts that challenged the very foundations of human physics. But slowly, impossibly, they began to make progress. "Look at this," Sarah called out on the fifth day, pointing to a recurring sequence. "These aren't just equations, they're instructions. They're teaching us as we solve it." The revelation changed everything. What had seemed like an impossible test was actually a lesson. The aliens were watching to see if humanity could adapt, learn, and grow beyond their limitations. Each solution unlocked new understanding, advancing human knowledge by decades in mere days. Finally, after a week of intense work, they had their answer. Sarah's hands trembled as she input the final sequence into the Gateway's interface. The energy field shifted, transforming from an opaque barrier to a transparent window into space beyond. But what they saw through that window made every person on the bridge catch their breath. Instead of alien worlds or strange civilizations, they saw something far more profound, a perfect reflection of Earth, but changed in subtle ways. Continents showed signs of advanced development, oceans gleamed with clean waters, and the atmosphere sparkled with pristine clarity. "It's not just a test," Sarah whispered, understanding dawning in her eyes. "It's a vision, what we could become if we prove worthy." The alien presence finally manifested, not as physical beings, but as patterns of pure energy that danced through the ship's systems. Their message, when it came, was simple but profound: the first trial is complete. You have shown the capacity to learn. But knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. Prepare for the next test. As the crew absorbed this message, Sarah noticed something else in the data streams, hints of other civilizations that had faced these same trials. Some had failed spectacularly, their arrogance or fear leading to their downfall. Others had passed, but barely, earning only limited access to galactic knowledge. The question hung unspoken in the air: which path would humanity choose? The next test would push them beyond mathematics and physics, beyond the comfortable realm of science and logic. It would challenge not just their minds, but their hearts and souls. Admiral Harrison's voice cut through the tension. "Well done, everyone. But don't celebrate yet. Something tells me the next trial will make this one look easy." Sarah nodded, already seeing new patterns forming in the Gateway's energy field. The aliens weren't just testing their intelligence, they were testing their character, their adaptability, and their potential to join something greater than themselves. The journey had only just begun. The choice. the second trial began without warning. As the crew of Humanity's Hope recovered from their mathematical ordeal, the gateway's energy field suddenly transformed, bathing the ship in a soft golden light. Sarah Chen watched in amazement as the ship's internal systems responded to the alien influence, creating a massive holographic environment throughout the vessel. "All decks report similar phenomena," Captain Patel announced, her voice tight with controlled tension. "The entire ship has been converted into some kind of simulation space." Before their eyes, the holographic environment solidified into a perfect recreation of an alien world. Vast crystal forests stretched toward purple skies, while strange creatures moved through the undergrowth. But something was wrong. The crystalline trees were showing signs of decay, their once brilliant surfaces dulling with some kind of progressive degradation. "Life signs detected," Sarah reported, studying her instruments. "An entire ecosystem, but it's failing. The simulation is showing us a dying world." Admiral Harrison stepped forward, his experienced eyes taking in every detail. "This isn't just a simulation. It's a scenario, a test of judgment." As if responding to his words, the alien presence manifested again, this time presenting them with information about the dying world. It was home to a primitive but sentient species, just beginning to develop tool use and social structures. The crystal forests were essential to their survival, providing food, shelter, and the basic materials for their development. "We can save them," Sarah announced, analyzing the data streams. "The solution is in our database, knowledge we gained from the first trial. We could use it to stop the degradation." But then came the twist. The aliens revealed that this world's resources, the same crystals that were dying, were crucial for advancing human technology. With them, humanity could leap forward centuries in development, solving their energy crisis, eliminating poverty, and reaching the stars in ways they'd only dreamed of. The choice was clear but terrible: save this primitive species and their world, or take the resources that could transform human civilization. "We can't just let them die," Sarah argued in the emergency council meeting that followed. "We'd be condemning an entire species to extinction." "And what about our own species?" countered Dr. Rodriguez, who had joined the mission as chief engineer. "Think of how many human lives we could save with this technology. How many children on Earth are dying right now because we lack the resources to help them?" The debate raged through the ship. Every crew member felt the weight of the decision. They had 48 hours to choose, and with each passing minute, the crystal forests continued to decay. Sarah spent hours in her lab, searching for a third option, some way to save both species. But the alien parameters were absolute: they could either save the primitive species or take the resources. There was no middle ground. As the deadline approached, Admiral Harrison called for a ship-wide vote. "This isn't a decision any one person should make," he declared. "We're here representing all of humanity. We all need to live with this choice." The voting period was the longest 6 hours of Sarah's life. She watched as crew members wrestled with their consciences, some breaking down in tears as they made their choice. This wasn't just about resources or technology, it was about the kind of species humanity wanted to be. When the final vote was tallied, Harrison gathered the crew. The decision was clear: they would save the alien world. Despite the potential benefits to humanity, they couldn't build their future on the extinction of another species. As they implemented the solution, using their newly gained knowledge to halt the crystal decay, Sarah noticed something remarkable in the data streams. The alien presence wasn't just observing their choice, it was analyzing the entire decision-making process, the debates, the search for alternatives, even the tears shed over the decision. "They're not just testing our choices," she realized. "They're testing our humanity." The gateway's energy field shifted again as the simulation faded. The alien message that followed was brief but profound: "You chose preservation over advancement. Wisdom begins with understanding that progress at any cost is no progress at all. But greater challenges await. As the crew prepared for the next trial, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, what if they had chosen differently? Would they have been judged unworthy? Or was the real test in how they made the decision, not the decision itself? The answer would have to wait. The gateway was already humming with energy again, and the third trial was about to begin. Divided we fall. The third trial struck at humanity's greatest weakness, their divisions. It began with a subtle manipulation of the ship's communication systems, splitting the crew into isolated groups. Each section of the ship became its own bubble, cut off from the others, with each group receiving different information about an impending crisis. Engineering reports quantum core instability. Maya's voice crackled through the fragmented comm system. But we're getting conflicting readings from different sections. Sarah found herself sealed in the science lab with a handful of researchers, their instruments showing one version of events. Meanwhile, the bridge crew saw another scenario, and engineering yet another. Each group had pieces of a puzzle, but no one had the complete picture. This is the test, Sarah realized, studying the fractured data streams. They're seeing how we handle division and uncertainty. The simulated crisis escalated rapidly. Each group received convincing evidence that their understanding of the situation was correct, and that following other groups' suggestions would lead to disaster. The ship's quantum core was approaching critical levels, or was it? Some readings showed imminent danger, others perfect stability. "We need to make a decision," Admiral Harrison's voice came through, distorted and breaking up. "But we're getting different data in every section. Engineering wants to shut down the core, science says that would cause a cascade failure, and medical is reporting radiation leaks that neither of you seem to detect." The pressure mounted as warning signals blared throughout the ship. Each group had mere minutes to decide on a course of action, but any wrong choice could theoretically destroy the vessel. The alien presence watched silently as humanity faced its own fractured nature. Sarah stared at her data, then at the frightened faces around her. Everyone believed their readings were correct, backed by solid evidence. But something about the situation nagged at her consciousness. "Wait," she called out over the comm, "this isn't about finding the right answer. It's about finding a way to work together despite our differences." The realization spread through the ship. The alien test wasn't about technical problems, it was about trust, cooperation, and overcoming the human tendency to believe their own perspective was the only correct one. "All sections, listen carefully," Harrison commanded. "We're going to pool our data. No assumptions, no arguments about who's right. We share everything we know and find a solution together." What followed was a masterclass in human cooperation. Despite the communication barriers, despite the conflicting information, the crew found ways to share their knowledge. They used maintenance tubes to pass handwritten notes between sections, created improvised signal lamps to transmit data in code, and even resorted to tapping on hull plates in old-fashioned Morse code. As they pieced together their fragmented knowledge, a pattern emerged. The quantum core readings, the radiation alerts, the system failures, they were all part of a larger picture that no single group could see alone. "It's a harmony," Sarah exclaimed, seeing the pattern. "Each reading is like a different instrument in an orchestra. Separately, they seem to conflict, but together they make music," Harrison finished. "All sections, prepare for synchronized action. We'll solve this as one crew, one species, one humanity." The solution, when they found it, required perfect coordination between all ship sections. Engineering had to make precise adjustments, science had to monitor quantum fluctuations, medical had to track radiation patterns, and bridge had to coordinate it all. If any group tried to work alone, the entire effort would fail. As the crew worked in concert, something remarkable happened. The ship's systems began to stabilize, not through any single action, but through the harmonized efforts of every crew member. The alien presence observed as humanity demonstrated its ability to overcome its greatest challenge, itself. When the simulation ended, the alien message carried a new tone of approval: division is the natural state of all species. Unity must be chosen, worked for, earned. You have shown this capacity. But the greatest test still awaits. The crew celebrated their success, but Sarah noticed something in the alien data streams that made her blood run cold. The next trial would make all others seem simple in comparison. The real test was about to begin.